welcome back to a special feature of the Jackrabbit Illustrated podcast. We're excited to have you join us here today. Before we dive in, we'd like to thank our sponsors who help make this possible. First off, a big thank you to our title sponsor again for 2024, the Kubota Dealers of South Dakota. Whether it's tractors, mowers, utility vehicles, construction, or farm equipment, Kubota's got you covered. With 9 convenient locations across the state of South Dakota and 1 in northwest Iowa, there's always a Kubota dealer nearby. Stop by your local Kubota dealer and see all they have to offer. All Jackrabbit Illustrated special features are sponsored this year by Northwestern Mutual. Northwestern Mutual, the one stop for all your financial planning and life insurance needs. Next, we'd like to appreciate the support of our other special feature sponsors, Cubby Sports Bar and Grill, the best sports bar and grill in South Dakota and the best place to watch the Jacks for away games. Culver's of Brookings and Watertown. Culver's, welcome to Delicious. Jackrabbit Central, the single best place to get all the best Jackrabbit gear. And now, your special feature.
Hey everybody, welcome to a Jackrabbit Illustrated special feature. I'm Dallas Clarkseen, joined by co-pilot Chad. Appreciate you joining me last minute here. We are recording here to interview Mr. Mark Willoughby. He is the radio voice of the Southeastern Louisiana University Lions, who the Jackrabbits will be facing on Saturday. Excited to chat with him, learn a little bit more about the squad. Exciting to have a really quality out-of-conference opponent here to close out the non-conference season. First, just want to give another quick thank you to Kubota Dealers of South Dakota. You guys are amazing supporters of us and of Jackrabbit Athletics. Couldn't do it without you. If you need any sort of equipment for lawn, farm, light equipment, construction, whatever, make sure you check out one of those dealers, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota, and a couple in Iowa. And also want to thank Northwest Mutual for sponsoring all these special features this year. You guys have been great to us. Chad will probably touch on Alex's Lemonade Stand here a little bit at some point too. Great sponsors of that. So with that said, let's jump right in. Mark, thank you for taking time to chat with us today. How you doing?
My pleasure. Great to be here, guys. Doing well. Looking forward to what we hope is a great college football game this weekend.
Same, and I think it should be. Let's just start out kind of real basic here. You guys had a couple of FBS opponents, and then you took care of business against Eastern Washington here. Do you want to maybe just kind of give us a 30,000-foot overview of those first couple games? Because it's tough with a schedule like that, and it's the same with us, trying to figure out what kind of team you have and what we're going to see here on Saturday.
Well, it's tough for us here, especially coming off last year. I think there's some PTSD from 2023 in which, honestly, I felt like this football team underachieved, quite frankly, and for a variety of reasons. But we found ways to lose football games and ended up 3-8 in the conference. That, quite honestly, was not real good last year. We felt like we should have done a lot better than we did. But coming into this year, obviously the schedule is what it is, and we've played 2 FBS the last few years, and last year was no different. We started off with Mississippi State and then South Alabama. We were competitive in both, and really just kind of bled into Eastern Washington. That was a road trip following 2 FBS losses, and had a chance to win late through a pick six, lost, and fall to 0-3. Then we come home and play Tarleton. A game we dominated and lose 14-13 on a missed extra point, and it snowballed from there and got off to an 0-7 start. Rebounded a little bit and finished up 3-8. So fast forward to this year, you start off with Tulane, who's maybe no question the best G5 team we've ever played, and probably one of the better FBS teams that we've played, save for LSU. And
I mean, that could be a playoff team this year.
Very good. They're outstanding. And, they lost 2 games in a row to Kansas State and Oklahoma, competitive in both, and probably should have beat Kansas State. But they're very good. That game was 14-0 right before the half. We had the football at the 18, going in under a minute left. We throw a pick six, goes back 100 yards. So they're up 21-0 at the half. And so instead of it being a 14-3, 14-7 game, plus we had the ball at their 6 earlier in the game, didn't score, missed a field goal, got a sack and a penalty, and ended up not scoring. So we had a chance to score in that first half and make that a competitive game in the first half. And instead, they're up 21-0. They score the first possession of the second half. Then it's 28-0. We had some injuries. We pull everybody out, and got away from us. Southern Miss is a game we felt like we had a chance to, if we're going to win an FBS game, that was one there. Very competitive in that game, got off to a lead. We fumble a punt inside our 10. They score. Then they hit a fluke play on a 3rd and 19 and score. We basically dominated the line of scrimmage. in that football game, especially our defensive line against our offensive line, and just found a way to lose. And the issues with us through really 3 games, 2 games, 2.5, is our passing game is yet to get on track. And this is a program that's been built around the ability to throw the football. And for whatever reason, we're struggling just with concepts and throwing to the right guy. And, it's just been a struggle. We've run the ball well, but it's just, as it's tough to, in any level of football, to, go 8, 9, 10 play drives and finish it off in a red zone when you can't successfully throw the football against the type of competition we've been playing. But Eastern Washington, pretty good football team. And I don't know how many games they'll win in the Big Sky, but certainly they have everything back from last year. And, I thought we did a pretty good job, containing their passing game, which is up tempo, similar to UIW that you guys played a couple of weeks ago. And we match up well with that. And so we were able to contain them a little bit. And we ran the football on them and, got some confidence and got a win. So what does that mean for this week? We don't know. But I feel like once we get in our league, we're going to be fine. We just got to get there first with some confidence and some health.
It's kind of funny. We have a little bit of the same feeling playing the competition that we've played here I'm called preseason, but in non-conference games, because you mentioned UIW, and I mean, what we saw, the up tempo that we saw from one Oklahoma State, then UIW, and then just generally what you see out of the Southland Conference is it's oil and water compared to the Missouri Valley, where most teams in the Missouri Valley are behemoth offensive line, grind the ball, wear you down. I mean, we all, as much as I hate giving North Dakota State credit, we all had to follow suit in the way that they built their program to where, all right, great, you could be up 7, down 7.5. Nobody cares, because eventually that's all going to just compound and wear guys down in the trenches. And that's kind of what, we're used to seeing, and why the Jackrabbits are built to stop the run the way that they are. I'm curious, before we get into this year a little bit more, you did mention finding ways to lose last year. I forget how you worded that. One thing that I'm not familiar with, what is the seniority or the youth, like age-wise, last year versus this year? Do you have, just in general, like how many returners you got? What do you got for seniors? Is that different?
Well, yeah, we've Portal's gotten us a little bit too, but you got to realize 2020 through 2022, we were an old football team. We had a bunch of 5th and 6th year guys, COVID guys, like everybody else.
Sure.
We had a lot of age and experience on those rosters. Last year, we lost a lot of those guys. So we were younger last year, and we're similar age this year. We have a 5th and a 6th year tackle. We've got some age in our offensive line, but that's where our experience is, and that's why we're pretty good up front, we think. Same thing in the defensive line, but we're a younger football team than we were during our playoff years. And I think that inexperience probably led to, again, us losing some games last year we shouldn't have, quite frankly. And we turned the ball over. I can't count how many defensive score or offense. Our offense gave up touchdowns via pick sixes, fumble returns, fumbles. Just setting up teams point blank range to score, and us not converting in the red zone. And those are all the things that we struggled with in 2023. And of course, the first 2 weeks, you're playing, 2 very talented football teams. Although Tulane is a really, really good football team. Southern Miss has some ability. They're just not a good team. We felt like we let that one get away from us. And how we lost 35-10, I think that's kind of stuck in everybody's craw. And but we played well last week against Eastern Washington, and that was a good football game. Again, they came in with a loss to Drake, who's not very good. I know you guys have played them last year, I think, or recently. And we're scratching our head because it's the same players we saw last year, pretty much. Quarterback's back. They had a great wide receiver, good offensive line. Some talent on defense, not great. But, we came in and I felt like we dominated both lines of scrimmage, which, that's something that's not been our forte. You talked about UIW. The Southland has been a up-tempo spread league, quarterback driven. We had Cole Kelly and Cephas Johnson, and even our starter now, Eli Sawyer, has been in that mix, ripping the ball down the field and scoring a lot of points. We're not built that way now. And of course we've tried, and Frank Selfo, because we've been to Montana, we've been to James Madison, and the reason we're playing South Dakota State is because he wants to play teams like that, because if you're going to win championships, you got to go through them, and you got to be able to win on the road. So you have to construct your team in a way that can match it. So he is, in the last couple of years, recruited to try to be good up front, to be able to roll, 8, 9 guys on the defensive line, to have an offensive line that's physical, that comes off the football, to be able to control the football, to where when you go up north in a climate that's not pass friendly, let's face it, we went to Montana, it's 25 degrees, and we're trying to rip the ball around the field, and they're physical, and it wasn't a good matchup. Now, we scored some points, but I think they hung 70 on us that day. But for us to compete, we have to play that way. So we've been trending that way. I think you've seen Lamar do it. SFA's coming back into the league; they're going that direction. Nickel State's kind of always been that way, but I think you're seeing the Southland try to build teams around a strong running game and strong defense as well. But the problem is, as fellas, down south, it's tough for us to get those kind of linemen. You're fighting so many FBS schools around us in our vicinity, LSU, Tulane. Then there's so many FCS schools as well. So there aren't that many, 6'5", 6'6" guys with athleticism to go around. So we had to be creative. So we'll take that 6-footer, 6'2" guy that's really athletic, and we try to take the undersized guy that has some will to fight. And so I feel like we put a pretty good group together. And of course, it's easier for us to find athletic D linemen, secondary wide receivers. They grow on trees down here. So we're pretty good on that side of the ball. But
that's
kind of yeah.
No, because that's the exact opposite. Like that's exactly the stereotypical assumption of the South End Conference for anybody up here is you've got guys that, there's so many FBS transfers and Power 4 FBS transfers across that league because there's just so many athletic, quick twitch guys that, that they might very well be almost there, but they don't want to wait around or just injury hits them or something. And there's tons of that. Whereas here, right, like we've got this factory around us for linemen, for tight ends. And I think you guys maybe talked about that a little bit on your podcast, which, by the way, I did listen to most of. You guys interviewed Tyler Merriam yesterday or the day before, whenever that was. Can you tell everybody how to find your podcast?
Yeah, well, it's I'll send you a link. It's basically we do a straight YouTube, Zoom, put it on YouTube, and it goes out to our fans. I will try to get that for you here in a second. It's not easy. But I tell you what, if you go to lineupfans.com, we'll have a link for it on that. So it's our message board, and we'll have that for you, and we'll put a link on it if your fans want to get that. So just lineupfans.com. It's real easy to give you a direct link. But we don't have the broad reach you guys do as a fan base. I know you're the flagship of South Dakota, and you guys get into Minnesota. We're more of a, it's regional football down here. We're Southeast Louisiana. You got Nichols, which is 75 miles to our south, LSU, and there's so many programs here, and our fan bases are unique. It's more niche football for us, because everybody has dual loyalties. This part of the world, I mean, they have a Southeastern shirt in the closet, and the other side they got an LSU shirt or whatever. But because that's what we fan,
but I got an Iowa State shirt on right
now. There
actually.
You go. But it's now look, we have diehard fans, and they're loyal. Our fan base is going to be, we're going to draw anywhere from 4,000 to 7,000 people. And in Strawberry Stadium, I don't know if you guys are going to make the game or not, but it's a great place to watch a football game. It's small, but it's right on top. It's built in 1937. It's an all brick concrete stadium, has some charm to it. It holds noise very well. So if you put 4,000 people in there, it's a great atmosphere. It really is. And there's no bad seat. When it's anywhere close to full, it's electric. And, South Louisiana fans are known to get a little rowdy. So
I have heard.
We like to consume down here. But so it's a lot of fun. And it's fun to play at home. And, we tend to play well at home. And we've played well against non-conference teams at home under Frank Self. I think he's 7-1. We've played Villanova and Idaho and Jacksonville State when they were ranked in the top 5. And so we've had some success. Tarleton got us last year on a missed extra point. That's the only non-conference loss. This is a completely different animal, by the way, that is coming in here this weekend. And we know that with South Dakota State.
Sure, but I was going to bring that up. 7-1 non-conference. And you look at the weird crap that's happened around college football this year, and the South Dakota State team, while we absolutely have the ability, I think, to be as talented as we've been the last couple of years. Last year was just this weird freak year where, I think Ben said it last night on the B Team podcast that you just roll your helmets out there and you knew that that team was going to win by 30 points, and I don't care who you put out. It was bizarre. Like, it was fun.
We're FBS junkies. I mean, FCS junkies. Trust me. We watch. I watch South Dakota State play every week. I mean, I'll pull up the highlights, or at least see highlights. If not watch, most of every game you play, and have done that forever. I do that with all the top ranked teams, and because we want to be up to date on who's who and who's good and who's not. But in my opinion, that if that's not the best FCS team ever, it's the roll call short.
The only one, I said, the only way, like, I'll argue against it because there was a Marshall team that had Randy Moss. So at that point,
was the other one.
That to me, that's the only one.
That would be the other one.
Yeah.
I agree. That's the other one. I would put in that class, but that was a freak show.
For sure.
Throw it up downfield and you couldn't stop them. But as far as both lines of scrimmage, you had everything. I mean, that team, lacked nothing.
No, agreed. And we did our best to get our fans to understand, like, all right, like, this team's going to be good forever, but these are the good old days. Please pay attention and appreciate it for what it is. But where I think I was going with that was, look at the last, few weeks. You've got Montana, who I thought was a top 3 team, go into UND and lose. And I thought UND honestly was going to be complete trash this year. Wow, was I wrong. You've got, the North Dakota State Furry Cows absolutely should have lost. And credit to them, I mean, being a fantastic team to win when you're down by, 13 points with 2 minutes left or whatever it was. That's absurd. That means you're a great football program when you do that. But
it's a program win. That's what that is.
Oh, yeah, 100%. They just knew they could just will that into existence.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, again, this South Dakota State team is making up for a lot of lost reps, and and is gaining a lot of experience, and it is not unforeseen that they could go out and lay an egg or not be ready. And you guys are a very talented football team with some very talented athletes, so I mean, absolutely got to be ready for that.
Yeah, well, that's of course, we pay attention to the national landscape. We watch podcasts, and we listen to what the rest of the country thinks. I mean, obviously, we all do, and we're not talked about. We're not ranked. We're not. We're almost a forgotten entity right now as far as FCS goes, and because it's what have you done for us lately? We had a bad year last year. Got off. Look, we lost 52-0 and 35-10, and the 35-10 losses to a bad FBS team, and so if you're looking at, you're terrible. And I was watching some of the Eastern Washington stuff, and we're going to win this game. They're terrible. Beat them last year, and you're sitting there going, we're not terrible. I mean, because I've watched 80% of our camp, and I know what kind of players we have. I know we're going to be fine when we get in our league. We have some issues that we have to clean up, but we have good players, and we have some guys that can go out on any football field and play. Our defensive line can run. Our linebackers can run. They're small, but they can run. Our secondary is much improved. We got good corners. So we feel like we can match up there. We can roll 8 or 9. Offensively, we can run the football. We've got a good offensive line. We have a quarterback who can do it. He just hasn't done it. I mean, it's just been a tough start for him, and that's kind of been our issue. And I know we match up against South Dakota State. One thing we're not going to be able to do is sit there and line up and just run the ball like we did last Saturday night. I know that's not going to happen. So at some point, we got to be able to stretch the field vertically, and that's got to be a threat. And if it's not, it could be a long night. And we're not going to shut down the South Dakota State offense. I mean, we know that. But I think we got enough talent to make you earn it. And I think that's just how you have to do it, especially with the new clock rules. It's like Tulane. It's 14-0 right before the half. They only had the ball twice, and they scored both possessions. And so they won a 3-and-out. I won 3-and-out. 3 possessions, scored twice, had a 3-and-out. But we had the ball so long that we took the air out of it. So our score was competitive. And then they get a pick 6. So then all of a sudden they run away from it in the second half. That's how we have to win. But we do have some talent. We have some guys that, other people are going to want. Matter of fact, every year we get rated by the portal. We have a tight end starting at Oklahoma, corner starting at LSU, safety at Troy, a center at Central Michigan, a wide receiver at South Carolina, and they're all starting. So we just have them in the last year or two. So that's a fact of life for us.
It's the new normal.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we touched on your podcast. I want to also quickly call out that if you want to learn more about these guys or any opponent that we have, check out the blog. Matt does a tremendous job doing Know Your Foe each week, jackrabbitillustrated.com. Go check that out. There's a link. It's been shared on Twitter, on Facebook, I'm sure, or jackrabbitillustrated.com. Go to the blog. Check out Know Your Foe. Tons of great information on there. I want to quickly shout out one of our segment sponsors for the year, Cubby's Sports Bar and Grill in Brookings. Everybody knows what that place is. One of the best.
Love that
bars.
place, by the way. Love
right?
it.
Oh, thank you.
I was up there in 2013. Absolutely love it. Matter of fact, I want to build one here in Hammond. So the place is awesome.
I appreciate that. It really is one of the best sports bars on the planet.
Gus. I don't know if he's franchising, but
all right, let's get it done. I'm in. I like that.
It's
I'm
awesome.
a restaurant guy. I actually my degree at South Dakota State is actually hospitality management, so I'm probably wasting that right now. But I was there twice on Saturday, both before and after the game. At Chislick, had I think a Windy City burger. I don't remember what I had at night. But yeah, Windy City burger with the mushrooms and all that. So awesome food, awesome atmosphere, million TVs. Go check out Cubby's.
That's no lie, too. More TVs per wall space than I've ever seen. So
they have been a great partner with us for the last year or two, and they also help partner with us on Alex's Lemonade Stand, which we are promoting along with FCS Nation Radio. Kevin and Stone Labanowitz, who I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah, I think Stone's going to be in town this weekend at the game.
Yeah, they're gonna have an Alex's Lemonade Stand tailgate there, so I know you're gonna join them at that. And I know Northwestern Mutual, best place to get your life insurance and your financial house in order. Go ahead and hit those guys up. Sorry to back-to-back sponsor you like that, but it just kind of flowed that way. But I got a question. You were talking about, how you might size up and how you might do. Can you maybe compare yourself to how UIW fared against us this year? Like, how would you compare yourself? Because I'm looking at the standings here, and it seems like you guys kind of have a similar record this year. Just maybe give us an idea how you think you maybe compare to them, and how you think we'll stack up that way.
Well, it's a completely different look. I mean, we're going to play a different style. Again, they're trying to snap the ball, at breakneck pace, and they're similar to Eastern Washington, very similar. I think Eastern Washington's probably got a little bit more, probably a little bit better at wide receiver than UIW is. The quarterback's probably more accurate. We play UIW every year. We have wars with them. 2 years ago, they were loaded. They went to the semis. Probably should have made it to the championship. Blew one at North Dakota State, and we had probably a classic game for the ages. That night, we walked them off. Our starting quarterback walked them off on our last play of the game to win it at home. And last year they weren't as good. We weren't as good. We went over there and we turned the ball over and lost by a touchdown. And we feel like we match up with them athletically. But as far as how you guys match, as far as a game between Southeastern Louisiana and South Dakota State and UIW and South Dakota State, it's going to be different because we play differently. We're going to play a slower tempo. We're not going to run, to the line of scrimmage. And we may run some up tempo occasionally. We may get a NASCAR package or whatever, but we're not going to snap the ball with 25 seconds on the play clock. It's going to run down, and it's going to be at 5 probably, and we're going to run the football, play action off of it. We're going to go under center. It's going to be more what you see in the Missouri Valley, probably. Sure. Defensively, I think we're pretty not bad. I think our front seven's pretty good. Now, again, I say that, it's coming off of giving up, I don't know how many points we got, 87 points in the first 2 games. It's hard to say you're good. but I think we're better than the numbers. And I call it loser talk. How when you're always losing, you find ways to, well, if we did this better. I think in the first two games we had played 116 defensive snaps. I think we'd given up 831 yards, like 415 a game. 6 of those snaps was 297 yards. There were 6 plays. They were big plays. So yeah, they count. But for 95% of our snaps, we were playing really good football, and then you have 6 breakdowns and give up big plays, and that's things that we got to correct. And I thought we did a better job of that against Eastern Washington against a really good offense. So we're capable. Again, it's a different beast this week, and we know that. And this is more like playing an FBS opponent than playing a typical FCS for us.
So on the offensive side of the ball, when you guys have had success running it, you called out that you didn't think you're going to be able to come out and run the ball. And to be honest with you, I think that's probably accurate. You look at what South Dakota State's been able to do, holding a Heisman candidate to barely getting 100 yards right at the tail end. They had to keep him in to the bitter end, held the next couple opponents to well under 100 yards. And I think that's going to be the story all year. At least it sure looks that way. But I think UIW may have figured out the recipe to get some yards with quick hitting passes, with call it extensions of the run game. So even if you guys aren't, exactly. So if you guys aren't doing that fast break style offense and going no huddle, I think we still might see the similar, some similar play calls. At least that's what I do. I don't know. I'm not a coordinator.
Yeah, no, we can do that. And as a matter of fact, that's how we've thrown the football. It's been underneath, get the ball out quick to our athletes on the perimeter, bubbles, tunnels. We'll see. We've seen more man really the last couple of weeks, but Tulane set back in the zone against us and gave us some underneath stuff and said, you're just not going to score in the red zone. And we moved it and got it inside the 20 and bogged down just because we could. It's hard to execute. It's hard to go 8, 9, 10 plays. Now, we can run the ball in most people. I mean, I think we're talented enough to run it. Can you run it good enough to win a game? That's against the team that's really good. It's going to score points. You feel like will score points against you. That's kind of what we're talking about. We ran it against Tulane pretty well, but not enough to win a football game and punch the ball in the end zone. We ran it against Southern Miss, but we weren't able to run it enough because we didn't have the ball much, and you're behind. So then all of a sudden you got to abandon it. So we've shown the ability to line up and hand it. Hey, we're running the ball and get positive yardage. We can do that. We have a good running back. He's a hammer. He's a 4-star out of high school, and he's talented. He can run between the tackles. We got another guy who can get out in space and go. And he had 2 long touchdowns against Eastern Washington. So we have some ability. The quarterback run is not a threat with us, which is unusual, for a Southeastern team because Cole Kelly, could run football, and then Cephas Johnson, who's in the NFL, Tampa Bay, now as a wide receiver, was a good running quarterback. But now we got the typical, drop back classic passer with not a lot of mobility. We have a backup that will come in and possibly, give a change of pace. But again, it's direct runs, and it's just kind of how we're built.
So is that Murray that's the change of pace?
He was the first 2 weeks. We have a kid named Stewart, Damon Stewart, who's honestly a much better athlete. Came in last week against Eastern Washington, closed that game out because our starter went down with a cramp, and he finished up the last half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter, and was in the game at the end. But he's kind of similar to Barrier from Eastern Washington, a little guy that can run around and throw the ball. He's not Barrier, but I mean.
Okay, I was gonna say,
Well, no, he's got that kind of skill set. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to.
Sure. No. I get what you're saying. I'm joking.
I mean, when you see him, it's a little guy that can run around in the pocket, and if you let him out the back door, he can go. So you got to account for it. But I don't know how much we'll see of him. Honestly,
I mean, we appreciate that. We're looking at kind of a 1-2 punch at quarterback this year too. Now we didn't see it last week because the offense just could not get going. But I think we're going to see a lot of 2 quarterback sets and rotations this year. Back to your running backs real quick here. Backing up one more time. We had a question on the screen here from Pat. Looking at SDSU's film this year, where's the Jack's weakness to the SLU attack? Did you kind of cover that with you? That just the style of pass game?
I mean, I don't know that there is a weakness. I mean, obviously, UIW found a way to put up 24 points or whatever it was they scored, but is that really a weakness? When you score 47, I mean, again, there's no defense that's going to be perfect. Yeah, but he is good. But I mean, there's no defense that's perfect. I mean, you're gonna, especially when you got tempo going, there's going to be a breakdown occasionally. If you got athletes, you get them in space, they can hit a home run, and you're not going to, like I said, you're not going to shut everybody down. But the key for us is we've got to be able to play action. We've got to be able to, complete stuff and seams. We've got to be able to win 50-50 balls, which is something we haven't done, which we always do. That's been the big was stuck in everybody's crawl here is we're just not winning 50-50 balls, and which is odd because normally we have those kind of guys that can.
Sure.
So Dallas was touching a little bit about your running backs. Why don't you tell us? It looks like Harlan Dixon's done the majority of the work there. Who was the other guy you're referencing? You said you got.
Well, actually, Antonio Martin is our leading rusher. He's Harlan. We played both. Harlan was our starter last year, and we brought in Antonio Martin. He was highly recruited out of high school. He had offers from Alabama and Ohio State. Everybody offered him. Went to Georgia Tech. Was there a year. Don't really know what happened. Crowded running back room. He transferred to Blinn Junior College. He was an All-American there, or All-State, or whatever they call it in Texas. And we got him here, and he kind of took over the job. And he's not flashy, but he's 220. He's a one-cut runner. Just does a good job reading blocks and reading the leverage. And it's just hard to bring down the first tackle. I mean, he'll get in a hole and it looks like he stopped for no gain. You look up, it's 4 or 5 yards down the field, and he just kind of death by 1,000 cuts type of running back is what he is. And he can occasionally bounce it out to the outside and pick up 15 or 20. But he's averaging almost 6 yards a carry, and it's like 6 yards a carry. It's not one of those where he's got big runs. It's just kind of boom, boom, boom. He wears on you. And then Harlan Dixon is the opposite. He's a kind of a slasher. Can catch the ball in the backfield. He had a 35-yard touchdown, like a 23 the other night. Gaping hole. We washed the hole, wash everything down. Had a big hole to run through. So I think I could have ran through it. But he's kind of more of the speed back, and it's a two-headed monster. We got a third guy. It's not bad, but we're pretty much going to lean on to those two guys.
So looking at some of your skill players, I'm curious who might surprise us. We talked about the two running backs, wide receiver room. You got Darius Lewis, Brandon Hayes, Jalen. How do you say Jalen's last name? Is it Domingo?
DiMaggio.
DiMaggio.
Joe DiMaggio. Oh, yeah. It's like Joe and Joe. Yeah.
So, I mean, the last part's go, right? We all know
that's what I saw. We're talking about French country. I thought it was go. All right.
What was funny was our TV guy that did our game was calling him Domingo all night the other night, and it's hilarious. That's what everybody wants to say, Domingo.
Okay, good. I don't feel bad for saying Domingo then.
Everybody says that, but it's DiMaggio.
Okay. DiMaggio. All right.
One of my best friends, over 30 years is DiMaggio. There aren't many. It's a Cajun name, and it's not real common, but you got to be here to know. If you're from here, you know how to say it, but. But anyway, it's he's a good player. I think he's somebody that could surprise you, and he's the guy that's got to win the 50-50 balls. He just hasn't had a chance. I mean, Eli's been flatlining balls and just not putting them in a position for him to win those battles. Darius Lewis is a guy that can make some big plays. He can fly. His dad played in the NFL, Keenan Lewis, and he's not real big. You can fit him in your back pocket, but he's shifty, and he gets the ball in space, and he can make a move on you. He can take it a long way, and can do some damage in the running game. Hasn't gotten untracked, and kind of one of the points I brought up on our podcast is, Antonio Martin is averaging almost more yards per carry than he is per catch, which is hard to do, for a guy that's a big play receiver. So that's why the alarm bells are going off with us offensively. And I know we're better than this. I think it's going to untrack eventually. I don't know if this is the week to do it, but it's the week we want to happen. But well, for us, we hope, for us to be competitive. But I think as we get in our league, we're going to be fine. I think we're going to be pretty good. But it's just getting there first with some confidence. And like I said, last year we were in the same boat. Of course, we lost to Eastern Washington, but you get them at home and get that win. So now the vibe's a lot different. And I don't think last year we probably lose that game. Honestly, this year we found a way to win. I don't think there was any doubt. I think it's a totally different mindset on this football team. I feel like they know we're going to be fine in conference play. It's just getting through that. It's a tough non-conference slate. You get two FBS.
That's a tough non-conference slate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we got to go to Tarleton. But and that's the thing about it. We don't shy away. And Frank Selfo will tell you, we'll play anybody, anywhere. We don't care. And we understand the ramifications. We understand that for us to get our program to where we want it to get to, we got to see what it's like. We got to go to South Dakota State. We got to go to Montana. We got to go to James Madison. We got to go to these places, take one on the chin and say, okay, this is what we have to do. Bring it back to our donors and say, this is how we have to invest in our program. We're about to build a new facility, so that's going to help. And now NIL's a big thing now. And, we've got to be somewhat competitive in that so we don't lose players. It's not really about getting guys. It's about not losing who you have, because we do a pretty good job of recruiting high school kids. It's just keeping them here for 4 and 5 years is just tough now, especially if they do anything in their first 2 years. Because, believe me, we're getting picked over. Every one of our films goes out. And I'll talk to guys that, they work for FBS programs, and that's all they do is watch FCS tape and look for guys that they can, hey, get in the portal, we'll pay you. So we know how it works, and, just the way it is.
No, that's rough. And there's probably a bit of a difference too, because we have a plethora of very good Division II football around us, whereas that isn't as prevalent, I think, down in your area. So if we get to a point where we have to replenish and reload, it isn't necessarily going to be with guys that are fourth on the depth chart at Minnesota and want to play right away. It's probably going to be guys out of the Northern Sun Conference here that have proven and shown success, and want to maybe step up.
As you know, just because you're on an FBS roster doesn't mean you can play. We've gotten those guys. We got a transfer from LSU, and he comes there and he can't play dead. It's usually the guy that's played early. If you can't play early wherever you are, you're probably not going to play early here or be good here. That's just usually the way it is. And, the one thing I've learned over the years of doing radio here is FCS has a lot of good football players. Just the world doesn't know about them. And we've had guys go on and have success. Like I said, from our program, we have, ran off like 5 or 6 starters at FBS programs right now that were here just last year or 2 years ago. So, we're obviously doing something right in the recruiting game. You just got to keep them.
Yeah, clearly that's impressive. Yeah, on the guys that have played and shown success, we've had a couple great examples. Jason Freeman, who, if he was 2 inches taller, would be playing on Sundays right now. But he was, he played linebacker for us, who I always have said that's who I told my son to watch and to play like. And I don't know. To me, I think he's got a UFL shot, but I don't know if he's. I think he hung it up, didn't he, Chad? Have you heard?
I think you're right.
I thought I heard he was moving back to Brookings to work. After I started talking, I remembered that I'd heard that. But tremendous football player. He moved up. Currently, Kobe Claiborne on the defensive line. Probably our most productive defensive lineman so far this year came from Northwest Missouri State, which is by all intents and purposes an FCS program in that league. In the central part of the country.
Rating is D2. Yeah, they're good. Yeah, good over here.
Tremendous. And you look at the facilities are better than most FCS, I think, in that conference and in Pitt State. And anyway, but so
what people down here, what folks down here don't realize, you got to realize we're an SEC country, so that's dominates everything.
Sure.
And when you think of North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, they think the stereotypes kick in. It's wide open prairie, and it's no athletes or anything like that. It can't be further from the truth. And it's one thing we've learned over the years. There are a lot of great players because there's no airport to go sit in, like in Atlanta, Dallas, New Orleans, in the South. The FBS schools come in, the Power 5 or 4 now, and just recruit, and just oversaturate Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. A lot of great players, but there are a lot of pockets of, like you talked about, linemen. How many 6'6" guys are running around up there at 250, 260 that you redshirt, you bring in, get them in your strength program, and all of a sudden 3 years later, because they're lifers, they're not leaving. And now you're sitting there starting 4th and 5th year seniors on your offensive line or juniors that have been in your program that have length, athleticism, good feet,
Yep.
maybe good in track, maybe played 3 or 4 sports in high school because they come from a small town and
Yep.
end up being good players playing in the NFL. And,
No, 100%. I know you and Tyler talked about that on your guys' show, but the same way that, you could probably go down to one of your tailgates, close your eyes, throw a rock, and hit somebody that runs a 4.3. Same thing up here. You could walk into our tailgate, close your eyes, throw a rock, and hit somebody that's 6'6", 300 pounds. Like
I would rather hit the guy that's 6'6" and 300. Trust me, because we'll find enough guys.
Are you faster than him?
Yeah, well, I know better be if I hit him. But and that's not to say that we don't have guys. I mean, we'll get a guy 6'4", 6'5" that we could. We have them now, but there aren't that many of them. And if you get them, if they do get here, there's probably a wart somewhere. There's probably some reason why, as an injury or something that allowed him to just kind of find his way through the recruiting maze or whatever you want to call it. And now we've done a really good job. And this year, like I said, we start all 5 of our starting offensive linemen come within an hour and a half of our campus, which is very rare. They're all high school recruited and been in our program, and but they're anywhere from 6 foot to 6'3", maybe. One kid's 6'4", left tackle, and but they all have good feet. They're athletic. They want to be here. They're bought in, and they've been playing together. So we're very fortunate from what we usually are, because normally we got to get a transfer, we got to go to JUCO and kind of plug and play guys. It's hard to find guys with length. You're taking somebody with some kind of baggage somewhere just to get the talent level up to be a playoff type team that we want to be. But we've kind of stumbled onto a pretty good formula here recently and we have a great offensive line coach who's been here 7 years. He's outstanding, and it kind of shocks me that he's still here, honestly. But he's done a great job developing that part of our football team. So right now, that's our strength offensively.
Well, it sounds like it, and that's a formula we've seen time and time again. Just in terms of you get that sort of leadership and that mentality around a program with a bought-in offensive line that all believes in each other, and they usually all live in the same house. And I've known a lot of those guys. They can get pretty tight. Anything else? Let's see, we're coming up on about 45 minutes here. Is there anything else, Chad? You got anything you want to cover here yet?
I was just going to ask, we are relatively new to FCS in all scope. And one of the boons to our success, I feel like, has been our chance to get in front of the kids at local FBS teams, which for us is Iowa State, Nebraska, Minnesota. And you have next door to you a couple. Has that been a boon to your program, or since you're such SEC country down there that's just only a drawback for you guys?
I don't want to call it. I mean, it's good football. So when you live in football territory, obviously, everybody loves football. High school football is outstanding. Like I said, it's not hard to go find athletes. It's not hard to go find a corner, a safety, a D end, occasionally D tackle. Those are hard to find because the guy's 280 or better and can run and has some length. He's not going to play here. We have those guys now. I don't know. We've been able to recruit them out of high school and keep them so far. But, so the problem is you're just working through. It's where you are in a pecking order recruiting wise. Because let's face it, we love our facility. We love it. It's got charm. It's been around since 1937. But nobody's coming to Southeastern Louisiana because we have great facilities. Nobody's coming here because we don't have a medical school. We're not a flagship. We're teachers and nurses and business majors, and that's kind of what we graduate here. And it is what it is. So you got to want to come here. But we have a niche fan base that loves Southeastern. We dropped football for 17 years, from 1985 to 2000. Brought it back in 2003. So we're missing 17 years worth of alums, people who are bought into our program, and they're LSU supporters now. That's where their money goes. Their kids go there, and so that's a gap that we've had to fill. But we've had some recent success, really, since we played you guys the last time in 12 and 13, when Ron Roberts was our head coach, now defense coordinator at Florida, and was at Auburn and Baylor before that. Was our head coach and got us to the playoffs for the first time. And then, of course, Frank Selfo is gotten us there, 3 times now. So, but we've got a lot of hurdles that we have to overcome, and we've managed to do it somehow, and despite a lot of challenges.
Well, it sounds like you guys are doing things the right way. I can hear a lot of respect for your coach in the things that you say and talking about getting ready to invest in facilities. And I can't wait for you guys to come up here in, is it 27? What's the year?
7, I think. Yeah.
That's right.
2027.
Yep.
Oh, let's see. My son will be
Yeah,
a
last
freshman
time I
here.
was there, you guys were. I had to walk down like 47 flights of stairs to go to the bathroom to go stand out with the locals to take a leak.
Oof.
And it was all kind of clumpy grass field. I mean, it was kind of everything you thought it would be. It was awesome. I mean, we loved it. It was a great ball game that night. That was in 2013. I think we blew one. I think we turned it over 6 times. You got us. And but that was. I will say this: that game was a turning point in our program. I would tell you. Well, really, both games. The first game, Ron Roberts' first year, we were 0-3 and playing you guys here. You guys were, I think, coming off a couple of tough years, but you had Zach Zenner, Austin Sumner, and a couple good receivers, and you came in here for favorites. We were not very good, teetering on collapse under a first-year head coach, and he tried to run off half our team that week. Matter of fact, a few players quit. We weren't even ready to play, and somehow it was 13-7 in the third quarter. And you ended up winning like 31-14 or something like that. But our kids didn't quit. All of a sudden, we rebounded and had a pretty good finish. It's kind of sitting rock bottom and bouncing up. And then the next year, we won the first game and got beat at TCU, played well. Go to your place, and we're up 19-7 in the third quarter, and we start turning the ball over and don't score in the red zone. Next thing you know, you guys pick sixes. I think Zenner runs 75 yards. And next thing you know, we lose 34-26. And I remember the plane ride on the way home, everybody is just hacked off and just mad, like hornets, because it felt like they should have won the game. And it wasn't we played well, that kind of deal. It was like really mad, thinking we went in there and should have won the game. And then we run off 10 straight after that and make it to the quarterfinals that year. And really that was the, birth of our modern, what we are now. And that's, a chance to make the playoffs here and there. And, we're still not anywhere close to, what you guys are or anything like that. But we feel like we're a program that should compete for the playoffs every year. May not make it. We're going to have up and down years. We feel like in our league, we should be one of the top 2 or 3 in our league every year. I mean, we just feel like that's where we are now.
No, I'd agree. And it looks to me, outsider looking in, the Southland is anybody's conference this year. So, I definitely think you guys got a shot. Anything, I guess, on the game here coming up in closing? Anything that you haven't touched on that you want to?
I think we about covered it. I think we're going to put our best foot forward, and we understand what we're up against, and but we're not going to feel sorry for ourselves. We can go out there and snap the football and get after it, and just the biggest thing is we have to protect the football and do the things that you have to do to not lose football games. That's first, and then try to find a way to win it. And again, that's win a 50-50 ball and make some plays we haven't made all season to this point, and continue to play pretty good defense and just hang on tight and see what happens, and hope you guys, continue trying to find yourselves a little bit. That's what you hope in a game like this. But regardless, it's going to be a great night for college football here, because it's not often, if ever, we get a chance to face the number 1 team in the country. And certainly it's been since McNeese in 03, and certainly not a back-to-back champion. And one other real quick note, we will have played the FCS defending national champion, the defending women's basketball national champion, and the defending baseball national champion on our campus within a calendar year. So that's kind of a nugget to throw out there. But we played LSU and women's basketball and baseball at home. So, but anyway, that's pretty much it.
That's some solid competition there. No,
well, I was going to say, I really hope you get a chance to come up again when we play up again here in Brookings, because I promise the stadium will look a fair bit different from what you recall.
Yep.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. All I can remember is going in and we walked on the field and I'm like, oh my, because it was clumps. I mean, it was like dirt, a clump, dirt, a clump. It was weird.
Don't get us started.
Come on, we are
the ag school that couldn't grow grass. It was just
well, that's kind of what we were saying. This is an ag school. It couldn't grow, and I'm thinking, well, maybe they're hanging out
Been
on the
there, man.
field during, And I think he auctioned off a couple of steers at halftime.
Yeah,
that was
you're
fun.
Yep. There's a beef bowl, apparently.
Yeah, beef bowl. There's a famous story. I think it was might have been from Stone, that I don't know, somebody going out there and actually turning an ankle on a divot from a steer that they brought out on the field at halftime at one point. So it can happen.
I think our guys are trying to blame our turnovers on the divots, but no, that's a joke. But the one thing I did notice, you turn around and look, and there's a big, massive Daktronics scoreboard right there, because I guess Daktronics is in Brookings. So that was
it is.
You see the stadium, and you look and you see the scoreboard, and you go, don't match, But certainly, what you guys have done with the new facility, end zone facility, the indoor and the stadium, you've seen it from afar on TV, is phenomenal. And we knew, matter of fact, the comment we made when the stadium was built is, you watch, you're going to overtake NDSU. It's not going to be long, because that program with those facilities, now you're going to start winning battles, recruiting battles. You're going to keep guys at home, and it's going to be more of a destination for kids in that area, and rightly so. And SDSU is a credit to FCS football, and we're proud of them. And even we're playing here, we want to win Saturday night, but we have the ultimate respect.
Well, very much appreciate that. And you hit the nail on the head too with bringing up North Dakota State. Now, and everything did just kind of turn over the last few years. It isn't just the national titles. You look at the game within the game, and you look at recruiting, and then you look at just, there's so many little things where having to chase them down helped South Dakota State get to where they're at, and seeing, there's a handful of recruits that, we absolutely won head-to-head recruiting this year, and that had never, flat out, clearly happened. And anyways, it's been a fun path and a fun journey for sure. And talking about FCS, we were attempting to get trolled by Ron Lowney bringing up he was bringing up where are we at? He was bringing up the Mountain West, and Ron, we're not.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
I would ask you guys that. I tried to ask Tyler this, and I think he had to give me the politically correct answer.
You're going to get the politically correct answer from him, yeah.
From Tyler, yeah. And we don't know anything that anybody else does. We spent a ton of time, though, on it ever since the Pac-2 won their lawsuit a year ago and got that war chest. And here's the thing: is it all still comes down to eyeballs watching TVs, and there's no scenario where that makes sense. That's why Jacksonville State, Kennesaw, Sam Houston, right? Just all of these conferences, it makes sense to them financially that they have to draw a circle around it and see how many people they can get. And I don't think competitively it's going to make sense to try to grab a South Dakota State. And then I just today saw in the Fans Nation group message on Twitter, I forget if it was Jamie or somebody, posted a spreadsheet somebody put together with all of the candidates, and South Dakota State and North Dakota State were at the bottom in every category, facilities and endowment and budget and population and enrollment. I may have said enrollment already, whatever, just everything. Like, they were at the absolute bottom, and that to me was like the clearest. As fun as it sounds, it doesn't make sense. When the playoff splits, I think there will be more active conversations around it. But right now, like, there's no reason. And I'm not, as exciting as it sounds, like, I'm not really in favor for it. I mean, it's pretty cool being at the top. This is great. So
we haven't been there, so it's tough for us to know. But to me, because that's come up with us. The Sun Belt Conference years ago, because we have even though right now we're not set up for it, but regionally we are. Our school, 14, 15,000 students, and it's stagnated with growth recently, but we're in a good spot. And when the Sun Belt was struggling, they were starting to look around, and we were nowhere close financially to be able to do it. But I know that there were some back room discussions on it. But the thing is, we feel much better at home in the FCS. We think that's where we belong. We don't, we're not D2 certainly, and we just don't feel like we don't want to be UL Monroe. And UL Monroe moved up in the mid '90s, and has struggled every year. And it's it's just a tough deal for them. And I think I think Sam's kind of uniquely situated. I think Jacksonville State's going to struggle. Troy managed to do it pretty well. It's just not a market for those teams. Well, if you're in a Conference USA, the Sun Belt did a good job. They went out and got programs, successful programs. The App States, Georgia Southerns,
Yep.
they built around the program, not the market. The Conference USA is trying to go market, and the programs weren't successful. So
as
anyway.
far as programs and support, obviously North Dakota State, South Dakota State would have that, but you just, I don't know. I don't see how it makes sense. I really don't.
I was just going to say, honestly, I think where we're at is waiting for the P4, maybe future P5 with whatever the Pac-2 is doing, split with the G5 and positioning ourselves to be in that second level. I think that's where we belong. That's where we want to be, is in that second level where we can compete for championships and not have an absolutely astronomically high budget for Olympic sports and other sports beyond football. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you talk to a lot of the older people around South Dakota State, they still see us as a basketball school, and there's money in basketball too. But, we're football guys, right, Dallas? And we love football. And it does drive revenue too, but there's a lot of costs associated with going to the Mountain West. If people think we're doing that without extra money coming in, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, as much as I'd love to fly the baseball team to Hawaii, like, man, that's a big commitment.
Expensive. Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents. But
yeah, you guys see it shaking out as 3 levels within Division One, or
I
2?
do 100%.
Yeah, I think 3.
I think that's probably true, because you're going to have that. Yeah.
Because you look at it also, and this absolutely, don't say this to sound arrogant, but you look at that top echelon right now of FCS, and that's not terribly fair to the rest of the FCS, right? I'm talking North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State, and you can argue about which, North Dakota might be in there and a couple others, but like that, it's going to be pretty hard for that group not to. I mean, they're going to own, in terms of just fan support, money, commitment to football, probably going to own the top forever. So then that's discouraging to everybody else.
You say that. To us, it's not.
Really?
Because I think, because let's face it, it doesn't. You want to be able to. You got to have something to strive to be.
Sure.
And so you got to go out and play. Now, will we ever? We're a regional university. Commuter school university. That's what we are. I mean, that's not going to change. We're not going to be a flagship state university. That's that's something that's hard to compete against. Financially, with donors, because I'm sure you guys have a med school and law school, and you have all that.
We do not.
We do not.
We have engineers. That's
well, you have engineers,
and pharmacists.
Engineers, pharmacists, and nurses. Hey guys, I am getting a text from my family that I told them I'd be done about 45 minutes ago, and they are hungry. So I'm gonna I got to get out of here if that's all right.
Feel free to hang on for a second afterwards too, Mark.
All right. Okay. All right. So we'll.
Thanks,
Mark. Mark, appreciate your time. Hang on for just a second longer here, but can't wait for the game. Go big, go blue.
Go Jacks.
Go Lions. Line up.